Yo, what's going on, guys? Your boy Pony Montana, and in this video, we are going to be going over how to make your cover 3 defense 10 times better. We're simply going to be going the ability setup and the positional setups for your cover 3 to be as dominant as possible. Now, before I get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and comment down below anything that you guys might be struggling with or anything that you guys might want to see on the channel. Or just comment FTA because it's for the algorithm and it helps push these videos out to more and more people. So let's get right into it, man. We're just going to go over the ability setup that I am suggesting for those of you guys who are, struggling to run your zone coverage. If you guys are running zone coverage, it is no longer viable for you guys to sit there and just run with no type of KO abilities. So we're going to be simply going over the best way for you guys to set this up. Now, the first thing that I want to note and the first thing that I want to say is if you guys are running cover 3 as your main defense, one thing is you got to take off base align. Okay, there's a reasoning for that, and we'll get into it and why in this video, but we have to start off with auto alignment. You got to take it off of base. We have to stop base aligning our defense. You're pretty much showcasing that you're running a cover 3. You want them to think that you're running a cover 3. That's how this is going to go. So next thing is you want to pick a defense where you're going to end up getting decent sheds. So in a defense like any nickel over, any defense that has a 4-down lineman set like big nickel over G, nickel over, dime normal, very, very good formation. Dollar sometimes ends up getting good sheds, but obviously you end up just rushing 3 most of the time, and it makes it a little bit frustrating for whoever it is that is running that. It makes it frustrating for you, honestly, to run a defense like that. So we're just going to go over nickel over because I feel like nickel over is very, very good run defense. And we're just going to go over here. And I currently have flat zone KO and mid zone KO on 2 different players. Now, the 2 different players that we're going to go over this is Charvarius Ward. And let me go find him real quick. And we're going to put him in the slot here, okay? And he's got mid-zone KO and flat zone KO. Now, on our outside cornerbacks here, we're going to go ahead and have deep out zone KO. So on these 2 guys, Richard Sherman here, and then Harold Carmichael here, we have deep out zone KO. And then on our 2 safeties, one of our safeties, where is Ted Hendricks? Okay, so on our 2 safeties, one of them is going to have flat zone KO and mid zone KO. And then the other one, which is going to be Julius Peppers, he has deep in or deep out zone KO, depending on where you want to play your safety. That's going to be the ability setup. So I'm actually going to go ahead and call cover 3. And then on the offensive side, we're just going to call, let's call a decent formation, I guess. Let's call tight slots. So we've got tight slots. Let's go mesh switch. And so now, if you look at our defense, the only 2 people that I didn't put abilities on, these guys just have stock 0 AP abilities, are my 2 users. Because I will be using these 2 guys, I don't really care to have abilities on them. But if you guys want to main one specific user, you're going to go ahead and main the opposite side user. You're going to make sure that that person has mid-zone KO. Now, what this does is the way I have this set up, Julius Peppers is going to knock out anything from this point on. From this point going all the way up to the outside, to the inside, it doesn't matter where they throw the ball. So this guy here, this Julius Peppers, let me get my squigglies out real quick. So Julius Peppers here is going to end up being able to get a knockout on anything from here on. Literally from the entire, because he's not going to activate on anything mid-zone KO related. So he's going to activate on anything all the way up the field. And what this does, it helps prevent anybody who's trying to run a cover 3 beater. He will react a lot better to those passes, and you will be able to sit there and get pretty much a lockdown animation most of the time when it comes to this. Now, Ted Hendricks and Charvarius Ward, which is our slot and our opposite side safety, they come down to play cover, they come down to play the flats. And with these guys playing the flats, they are going to be able to guard anything from this point on all the way down. And that's because they have 2 separate abilities. So again, the squigglies are only to showcase exactly where we're going to play. Actually, mid-zone KO goes up about 15 yards. So about this area here, these guys are going to end up knocking anything that's in that general vicinity. And that's why we're utilizing flat zone KO and mid zone KO on these guys specifically, because anything that's out here, we want them to sit there and pretty much come down and react to it as quick as possible with those abilities. And if they're close enough, they're going to end up getting a knockout. Now, because these guys are always going to be in cover 3, these outside cornerbacks, so if I do base a line here, these outside cornerbacks are always going to be in deep blue. So even if you put them in a deep half, they're going to react to anything that's outside of the numbers here. So up until this point, they're going to react to anything out here. So we're pretty much forcing, not really forcing, but we're kind of enforcing our zone KOs, our zones, to play the zones that we're currently playing as strong as possible. So that's why we have these abilities. So if they end up throwing right to you, you're going to end up pretty much knocking that ball out pretty much 9 times out of 10 times. Obviously, fluke happens in Madden, and it gets really, really frustrating when that happens. But of course, we're going to go ahead and showcase a couple examples of this. So I'm throwing there, and Harold Carmichael was in a deep half, so that one doesn't count. Let me throw that same exact play one more time, because I kind of want Julius Peppers to kind of animate there, and it just to showcase exactly what happens here. So Julius Peppers should animate. You see how he lights up? He lights up immediately as soon as I go throw the ball. It's because he's going to react a lot better to these passes. It's the same thing if you throw to any of the flat patterns. Now I don't have anything going with these guys, so let me just go ahead and try to throw this flat route here. And he's going to go ahead and swat that. Now, granted, that's just going to work out regardless. It's going to be difficult to get an animation. But if you guys play a game with these abilities and your main defense is a cover 3, you are going to notice that these guys go crazy. Now, the way that I have the ability set up, I have 1 AP on Sherman on the outside guys. I have 1 AP on these guys here. I have 3 AP. And yes, I'm gonna sit here and write these out. I have 3 AP on the guys going out to the slots because they're guarding so much within all zones that these guys are kind of pretty much, they're going to be like a great line of defense here. Then I have either 1 AP or 3 AP on Julius Peppers. So it's between 1 through 3, depending on what you guys want to rock with, because deep in zone KO, that pretty much, and I'm going to go ahead and take off the squigglies real quick, but deep in zone KO, it really only works in between the hash marks. So it's kind of frustrating when your deep out zone doesn't light up, but that's where deep in zone KO works. And that's exactly why we're going to sit there and have that ability on our guy, which leaves you with, if you guys have that extra deep in zone, it leaves us with 3 AP to utilize for secure tacklers or whatever the case may be. Yes, I have abilities on the D-line, but they are simply free abilities that I don't really care about and do not need. But if you guys are in a 4-down lineman set like we are in nickel, you're going to end up getting good sheds. And by the time that your opponent is able to sit there and make a quick throw, you're going to be able to get a knockout. As you can see, that was a drag route, and Teddy Hendricks, he lights up because he has those abilities on them pretty much. So again, the only other thing that I would specifically add is whoever I'm using. So say I'm using Ronnie Lott, I'm going to put mid zone KO on the opposite side user, and potentially, let me just call a play real quick, and potentially sit there and pretty much shift my linebackers to the opposite side. So he's guarding the exact middle. So my user is going to be here, and then the other linebacker is going to be right in the middle. And now the form looks extremely symmetrical, which allows us to be kind of a little bit more dynamic and kind of make sure that we're guarding the strong side of the field with our user to kind of make it so that, you know, the running back is on the right side. So we're going to make sure that we're going to focus on that right side running back a majority of the time. And then we're going to use anything that comes into our vicinity pretty much. This right here is going to make your cover 3 10 times better. I promise you. Frustrate your opponents as much as possible, because it is going to be extremely frustrating when they're throwing passes and then they're getting knocked out. And I'm actually going to show the replay on this, because this was a perfect example of what I mean with the flat zone KO lighting up and the mid zone KO. So this guy goes and you see how he turns to guard the corner and immediately comes down, and that's because the reaction time with these zone KOs, it makes your reaction time better. And that's exactly why zones aren't bad in this game. And I know a lot of people like to think so, but again, you just need the proper setup, and this is going to be the proper setup for you guys to completely dominate on the defensive side of the ball. My name is Pony Montana. Hopefully this video gets your cover 3 going absolutely crazy, because then from time to time you can sit there and send a blitz. Oh, you know what? Before I get out of here, if you guys are sending blitzes, by the way, out of cover 3, this setup is gonna help you guys a ton, simply because if you're sending linebacker blitzes, your linebackers aren't going to have really, crazy abilities on them. So you're going to be sending your linebackers while these guys are going to be able to guard the flats as best as possible because of those abilities. So again, don't be afraid to send heat. Don't be afraid to go crazy and get that cover 3 going absolutely nuts. If you guys want the cover 2 setup, it'll be very similar, but I will make a separate video for it. And yeah, that's pretty much it, boys. My name is Pony Montana. I'll see you guys in the next one, man. If you guys are struggling, leave anything down in the comment section. I'll try my best to find something for you. As always, 2 fingers, deuces, and peace out, you guys.